Well, hello and welcome to the Tour Report from Secret Golf. After Xander winning the Travelers Championship last week, we are here to talk about the John Deere Classic. Now, it's a TBC Deere Run. Elk, you and I have really been digging deep into our picks this week because I think it's very fair to say that the John Deere Classic has been affected by the PGA Tour schedule this year and the fact that the Scottish Open is next week, followed by the Open Championship in St Andrews. And a lot of these guys have had a busy time, a long run of tournaments really around the US Open.
Yeah, and I think, Diane, all the people in Quad Cities don't care. They come to this event no matter what. I used to play this event every year. I'm going to take you way back, Diane, to 1996. All the good players played here in the start of their career. Tiger Woods was paired with Ed Fiori in 1996, probably the most two opposite ends of ball striking spectrum you could ever get. Ed Fiori hits the ball about 250 yards off the tee. You can imagine Tiger Woods in 1996 hits the ball 350 yards. He was out, and Ed Fiori had the lead going into the last round, paired together. And Ed Fiori took down Tiger Woods that day. He was driving the ball, Tiger was 100 yards past Ed Fiori that day. And to this day, Eddie bought a boat with the money he won at Quad City called the Tiger Killer. And it was an amazing day. But we've seen Jordan Spieth. We've seen a lot of guys come to Quad City, kickstart their careers. This week is a big opportunity. You know, I talk about opportunities all the time. This field is set with not many star players. However, all these guys, as you look down this list, you're looking at guys that need a good week to jump into the FedEx. You need guys that want to win, to get a win so they can be exempt for 2 years. So it's very important to the players that are here at this event. So I'm not even going to focus on live. I'm not focused on anything. The people at Quad City love having the players up there. And there's so many good stories in this field this week that I'm honestly pretty dang excited about it.
Yes, that's the attitude to have. And there are a lot of good stories. We're going to tell quite a few of them. You mentioned Live Golf. You and I are going to get together probably tomorrow and we'll record a little show about the Portland event kicking off on Thursday and all the new announcements. But you're right, we're going to leave it out of the show. We're going to focus on the PGA Tour and the John Deere Classic. Talking of the field, I mean, the kind of top names, I think there's only two names in the top 75 in the world, Webb Simpson and Christian Bezuidenhout. Jason Day is one of the star names playing this week. I was so excited when I saw Davis Riley in the field because I'm like, oh, this is it. Like, this is going to be it for him. Then he withdrew, and Daniel Berger was really the star name that they had, and then he withdrew on Monday as well. So that's a bit of a shame. I hate these late announcements, and I always feel for the tournament because it has to be really tough for them, for especially those two names who were going to be real names to watch, to withdraw so late in the game.
Yes, and this golf course, by the way, is fabulous. What you said, everything about that was true about the players withdrawing. I was there when Paul Goydos, I stood just behind you there and watched him knock in about a 15-footer for a 59. I played exactly the same time off the 10th tee, shot, I think, about a 69. And I thought, there's no way this guy's going to beat me by 10 strokes. I played pretty well. So this course is going to give up a lot of birdies this week, Diane. I'm looking at the sheet for momentum. I'm looking at players that do well at the John Deere. I'm looking for players that drive it straight. D.A. Weibring was the name of the past that designed this golf course. We went up there and opened it way back in the day. Peter Jacobson was there. Paul Azinger was there. Billy Ray Brown was there. We played this golf course for the first time. And it's really incredible when you start to think about Zach Johnson, Steve Stricker, the guys that are from the Midwest that have gone to this event and won it. They just absolutely revere those guys up here. And they've got the giant pork chop tent, Diane. I've talked a lot about the pork chop tent between 16 and 17. They sell more pork chops there than any place on earth, or maybe they even give them away.
I knew that there was a food item that you were going to go big on this week. I couldn't remember what it was, but it's the pork chop sandwich.
It's a boneless pork chop, Diane, with a little bit of fat on the edge on white bread. I mean, only someone like you from Scotland would absolutely love this sandwich.
Oh, I love that fat on the edge of a pork chop. That's one of my favorite. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started. I'm pregnant and craving everything right now.
Well, as you walk off the 16th hole, a very short par 3, you have quite a walk back to 17, and huge tent. All the people are lined up to get their pork chop sandwiches, and there's usually a tournament official, someone from the John Deere, handing them out to players as they walk by. They can eat it on the way to the 17th tee. So amazing hospitality. We talked a lot about hospitality last week at the Travelers, where they treat the players very well. And they treat the players well everywhere. But this is a certain feel. This is a very much a community that's involved in this event. Tremendous support. They come out and they set their chairs there, Diane, and their blankets, and they stay there the whole week, and it's awesome.
That's what it's all about. Right, well, you talk about the course, par 71, just shy of 7,300 yards, and we are going to see low scoring. I feel like there's always a little bit of Sunday drama here, and a lot of guys that have gone low and that are in contention. Lucas Glover won last year at 19 under par. There was no tournament in 2020 because of COVID. Dylan Fratelli, you talk about guys getting their first PGA Tour win at this tournament. He won in 2019 at 21 under par, but 2018, it was Michael Kim who smashed all records and got to 27 under par, which is unreal. So we know that we're going to be looking for guys that can make birdies and really take advantage of scoring opportunities this week.
Yeah, and if you lean sideways just a little bit, let us take a peek at that first hole there. Very lush, very manicured golf course. DA did a masterful job of just telling you where you have to hit the ball. And that hole there is usually a 3-wood or a layup just up to the side. You come back now, Diane, I got it. But the par 5s are reachable in 2. There's a drivable par 4 on the back 9. I've done the drawings. You'll be able to visit those. 17 is exciting coming down the stretch because everyone can reach the green in 2. It's just a lot of drama around this tournament. The last hole wraps around a tree and comes down to a beautiful lake where thousands of people are sit there all day waiting for you to come in. We saw Jordan Spieth hole a bunker shot there to get his first win. He's made a habit of that. He did it at Hartford years later. But I look at the sheet and I'm looking for people that can go low. I was looking, talking about guys. I'm going to jump right into just a name, Ches Reavie. When I think about this course, Diane, I start to think about who wins it all the time. I talked about Ed Fiore. Of course, that was at a different location. Steve Stricker and Zach Johnson, medium range hitters, great putters, but they're very fired up to be there. You've got to have a good attitude when you go this far out into the Midwest, Diane. They have a big dig on Tuesday afternoon where they let all the players get in those big trucks and dig holes and push things over. It's all about attitude this week. I took Sam when he was a little boy up there. It was the greatest thing in the world to get on the big dig with Sam. He's never forgotten it.
That's funny.
So, a lot of takes a lot of passion to win this tournament. You've got to want to be there. And I'm picking guys this week that have not just good stats, but they're looking for something more out of their season, that have shown me some form, and I think they can do it. But I did say Ches Reavie, very similar player to Steve Stricker, had a good finish the last 2 weeks on tour. Doesn't quite putt good enough for me.
Okay, well, yeah, we're looking for scoring opportunities. You talk about those par 5s. The second hole, par 5, plays as the easiest hole on the course year after year. I think it is one of the top eagle holes on the PGA Tour. Interesting, though, like we talk about the tree-lined fairways. The fairways are wider than average, large greens too. But the rough, the Kentucky bluegrass rough, is known to be some of the most penal on the PGA Tour. So, guys want to definitely avoid that. So I'm looking at birdie average, like obviously guys that can go low, scramblers, just overall good ball strikers. And one thing that I really took into account with my picks this week is guys that are confident. And you talk about the opportunity week. So they have a little bit of form, but they have increased confidence heading into this week too. And there's a lot of them. We did our sheet, and you can check it out on the SG Tour Golf Gaming app. But you really dig through the sheet, and you'll see a lot of guys that have been playing good the last couple of weeks that have to be coming into this week with increased confidence.
Yeah, I think there's a handful of players. It won't be any surprise of when we start to unfold our picks we have for this week. And the reasons we're doing it, because they're on form and ready to make birdies. I was looking at Sahith Theegala, who made a mess of the last hole last week at Travelers. I mean, I think he's in a transition period, Diane. I've picked him a lot this season at different places, waiting for him to peak again. I missed again by about 3 weeks, but I think Theegala will play this course too aggressively. He's a long hitter, likes to cut across corners, do all sorts of things, and that's going to suit him well down the road. But that was a tremendous mistake he made on 18. He needed to pitch that ball out. I mean, good tour players, if Raymond Floyd or Hale Irwin, I was watching the golf on TV thinking about, okay, how would Raymond Floyd and Hale Irwin assess this situation, or Jack Nicklaus, for example? They would roll the odds, right? The odds would say, if I pitch this ball out, knock it on, have a chance to finish 19, that the worst I'm going to finish is 18. That forces the player behind me to make birdie. Now, Alexander Schauffele did make birdie and beat him, but the odds were he had to play out. So young tour players don't know how to roll the odds, and it probably cost him about, I don't know, $400,000 that he gave to T. Poston, one of our Secret Golf contributors, who moved up to position number 2. I was texting with him. His game is very good, and we'll probably likely see him in our picks this week. Mm-hmm. So Sahith Theegala would have been probably at the top of my list, but I think he's still evolving into what I would call a superstar player. Okay. He's going to play the course too aggressive. He's going to cut across too many corners. He's going to get tangled up, but who knows? I
said that to Garrett when he bladed that shot in the bunker on 18. I said to my husband, that was a great boost for JT Poston. Nice little addition to that pay packet. Right, okay, so we are going to get into our picks. We each have an outright favourite, a one to watch, and then a dark horse. And I'm prefacing this with they have to be over 100 to 1, but I know that you're going to take a little liberty with that this week, and it's fine. I'll start with my outright favourite because I have 2 names. This is like a new trend of giving a couple of names, but it's because my first guy is a definite favourite and it shows in the odds. I'm going with Canadian Adam Hadwin. He's plus 1,800, but looking at current form, what was it, like 4 top 10s in his last 9 starts, finished T7 at the US Open, and his game has really been trending. He, had a couple of good days at the Canadian Open, a lot of expectation there pretty much, but he's, you can see it in his stats that they're improving week after week. This is definitely a great season for him, and the putter is really the club that is definitely working for him right now. So he's one of the favourites without a doubt at 18 to 1, but I'm going to go with someone who is higher at plus 4,500, and he's an Illinois native. So this is going to be a special week for Nick Hardy. He's, again, going to have amazing crowd support. He was born in Illinois. He went to college here, but playing well heading into this kind of weaker field event. And he's got to take that confidence from a top 15 at the US Open, finishing a tie for 14th, and then a tie for 8th at the Travelers last week. And again, when you look at his stats, his putting stats have really, really improved. And in his last 3 starts, you can see a noticeable improvement in his putting. We know that you're going to need to make a lot of birdies in this kind of low-scoring event, but I looked at his stats for last week. Off the tee, around the green, and in putting, he was all top 20. So that's brilliant. And as I say, the confidence he's going to take from 2 really, really good weeks, making a lot of money, getting some good FedEx Cup points, and then having the backing of family and friends and people he went to college with, being the home kid. So I really like Nick Hardy at 45 to 1.
You've got to have that connection. You always have 3 things that you put together to make a pick. So one of them, they have to have a nice dog. You usually have to have a married. So no. So what are they? What are the 3?
I will say I was so upset that I found out after Xander won the Travelers that Sunday was his first wedding anniversary, because if I'd known that beforehand, I probably would have picked him. But I always like to look at Yeah, the stats, because we dig so deep into the stats that I'm always going to look at those. Then I'm always going to look at current form and just how they've been playing lately. I know that guys can come out of nowhere and surprise us, but then there's always those other little things as well that are going on behind the scenes. You call them the intangibles, and you taught me that. And I see it, with my brother too, that there's always extra stuff that can help towards a good performance. So Nick Hardy, local support, going for it this week.
Yeah, that's a great pick. When you think about this tournament, Diane, and the players that are there, who has momentum, I'm starting to think already, if I'm there, I'm thinking, who's going to be playing so good that they're just going to walk through each 9, 2 under par, 4 under a day, gets to 16 under. That'll be somewhere going into Sunday with a chance to win. And then I think of my friend Jason Duffner, who's been struggling with his golf right now. 2 under on any 9 holes would be a great 9 holes. In other words, he'd be trying to see something. But there's guys out there, Diane, that are playing so well. They're going to knock off a birdie at number 2. They're going to knock off a birdie on one of the short holes with a wedge. I'm looking at Scott Stallings this week. He has been playing really good golf. Strong kid. Could have won at Colonial. Played good at the Travelers, top 10s in both. He's green across the board. I got to think Stallings is up here to try to make a win. I mean, to be serious about being at this tournament. Berger withdrew. It's all about attitude this week. I was looking at Ches Reavie. I was looking at Thigala, but I'm really focused on Scott Stallings. He's playing well. He played in 2 very good fields, top 10s in those 2 that I mentioned. So he's a guy that I think is just going to waltz through this tournament, Diane, get 2 under each 9. He's going to be there. So I'm all in on him winning this tournament this week.
35-1 as well, so that's good. That's what I mean. I bet Scott Stallings was nowhere near 35-1 last week at the Travelers. So this week his odds are definitely cut, and he's going to be up that kind of top section of the board. But I agree with you. I looked at Scott Stallings as well. He's you notice, like, when you're following tournaments week in, week out, the names that are in contention more and more. And it could be on Sunday, it could be, throughout the course of the tournament. And Stallings is there or thereabouts pretty much every week right now. So I like it.
Well, I'm a big biorhythms guy, Diane, as you know, and guys play well at certain times of the year. And there's also a little known fact, Diane, that every tour player on tour makes about 90% of their money in about 4 events. Now, say, what do you mean, Elk? Well, when Tiger won, he won 4 events, so that was where he made the bulk of the money. Someone like me, I might have won a tournament, or I finished in the top 10 3 other times. That was accumulated for about 90% of the money. So as you start to handicap, you have to watch and see where some of these guys are going to make their most money, and that's all taken into consideration, of course. So that's what I'm looking at.
Okay. You were a March guy, weren't you? You loved those Florida events.
Florida, and when it got windy, I knew that I could probably play the wind better than the average guy because I was a straight hitter. I won at Doral twice, and I won at the Players twice. Windy, I could keep the ball in play. I didn't have to go crazy with scoring like Palm Springs or on the West Coast. So that was my time.
And that was your biorhythm. Okay, right. We're moving on to our ones to watch. So guys that are slightly higher odds, and we make a good argument for them. I've got 2 this week, but why not? We've got to dish them out. And one of the guys you've mentioned already, and you teased that we were going to be talking about him, but he's part of the Secret Golf team. And I don't like to pick guys just based on how they performed the week before. But JT Poston at 55-1. Like, you cannot ignore that this week. We just talked about the fact he finished runner-up at the Travelers. He opened with a 62 and finished with a 64. And I always think, like, on a Sunday when he was, a few groups before the final group, under pressure to move up that leaderboard, but not under the most pressure, and to shoot 64, fantastic birdie putt on 18, and obviously made him a huge amount of money. But we know that he's such a good putter. He was 2nd in approach. He was 12th in putting last week. And there was here's one stat that I really dove into for Poston. And I know he hasn't made a huge amount of cuts this season, but his final round scoring average for the whole PGA Tour season, he's sitting at third. Now, obviously, shooting that 64 at the Travelers on Sunday would have helped, but there's always a bunched leaderboard heading into Sunday here. And I think, you know, a guy like Poston that can kind of run away with it a bit on a Sunday, I love that. So at 55-1, I'm staying loyal to our secret golfer, JT Poston, and hoping for another good week.
Well, you just proved what I just said a minute ago, which is they make all their money in 4 weeks. And JT Poston, I was texting with him after the Travelers, he's second place, and he never says this. He never texts me that my game is so good right now, Elk. I hope he doesn't even see this before the tournament because that might jinx him. But he's playing very well. He's one of these guys that once they get their game in good form, same with Patton Kizzire, they go hot, they get low. It's sort of I tell a lot of the young players on tour that playing on tour is like riding bulls. You know, if you get thrown off quite a bit, but if you get upset by getting thrown off, in other words, if you get down in the dumps when you miss a bunch of cuts, you're not going to make it on the tour. Yeah. So he doesn't, obviously that doesn't happen to him. JT hangs in there. And I've also had analogies like a race car driver. Sometimes he smashes into the wall and this is a cut right out of the gate. But when he's in the race for the long haul, he does what he did. And he, as you said, 64 third round scoring average. I am, however, moving away from JT's obviously up there with one of my picks. I just knew that you were going to pick him, so I moved. But I'm picking for another guy that's used to looking at corn, Diane. Nate Lashley, who's having a great season. He's from Nebraska. I look at this kid's stats, and I call him a kid because he is to me. He's 83rd on the FedEx. That's the first thing I look at. He's 65-1. Okay, here we go. Birdie average, 24th. Putting average, 29th. Scrambling, 63rd. Proximity to the hole, 60th. Driving accuracy, 58th. He's the only guy down here in the B category that has green numbers all the way across the board. I've never shook hands with Nate Lashley. I've watched his game, admired his game from afar for a young guy that's coming along. But I'm putting some stock in that he likes corn, Diane, and he's used to seeing everything about the Midwest. And I'm also putting stock in that he's going to be very excited to be up in this part of the country.
You have to meet him once.
And isn't there an old saying that if the corn is not knee high by the 4th of July, it's not going to be a good crop? I'm just throwing that in there too.
I mean, you're asking the wrong person. You and I are probably not the best people to talk about American words of wisdom and geography, but I like it. You've been big on Nate Lashley again a lot this season. So, what odds do you have for him?
I have 65-1.
Okay.
That's very good odds for Lashley.
Yeah, I've got another guy that's 66-1, and I'm talking about that confidence, John Ha, which
he's got good stats too.
Yeah, T13 at the Travelers, T12 at the Charles Schwab Challenge just a few weeks before. But when I looked into his stats, 10th in approach from 100 yards. That's a really good stat. That's important. And he's 11th from 125 to 150 yards. So that is obviously his where he's making his money right now. Good stat for him. And he finished T7 here in 2018. So knows the course and has a good amount of confidence from his game and from prior experience around here. So I'm adding John Ha as well. I like it.
Good.
Okay. Right. Dark horses this week. And I'm going to let you go first because you've already given me the heads up that your guy is a little under 100-1, but we're going to let it slide.
Well, I've got him at 80-1, but he's the brightest dark horse of anyone. He just fresh off a runner-up finish in the U.S. Senior Open. It would be the hometown hero, basically, Steve Stricker, 50-odd years old. Could he turn the clock back one more time? I don't even know. I went through the record. I don't know how many times he's won this tournament, but this, when you start to think about guys like Steve Stricker, Phil Mickelson, of course, won Kiowa last year, did it with power, but Steve Stricker's game is just a sort of a methodical, metronomic swing down the middle onto the green, knows he probably still putts as good as anyone on the PGA Tour. He'll be excited to be at this tournament. He almost kept this tournament alive himself, him and Zach Johnson. Mm-hmm. I got him at 80-1 this week, but I'm going to put a little stock in that he's playing good enough to hang around a little bit, Diane. I don't know if he can win the tournament for 80-1, though. My goodness, Steve Stricker.
Well,
He's
he's
my
won it
dark horse to
3
pick.
times. He's won it 3 times
How many?
before. 3.
Yeah.
So, again, he's going to have those passionate fans that are going to give him a real hero's welcome, because he obviously means a lot to this tournament, and the tournament obviously means a lot to him. So it's going to be good to see him in action. Right, my dark horse is 150 to 1. So, you know, when we put the two together, we're well within there. I'm going with Chesson Hadley.
There's a new rule on our report. If you're over 50, you get a bit further down.
Oh, okay.
On the odds.
You can have that one. I can't argue that.
Okay.
I'm going with Chesson Hadley at 150 to 1. Played great at the Travellers. Finished 5th, which was excellent. But he is, it's his putting that has really improved. And I saw that he's shot up the putting stats over the last couple of weeks to 26th on the PGA Tour. But again, here's 2 stats that I really dove into. How he plays at the weekend. Round 3 putting, he's 1st on the tour this season. And in the final round putting, he's 8th. So make the cut, get to the weekend. It's almost like the pressure comes off a little bit. And this is when he performs and starts draining those putts and making birdies. So Chesson Hadley, I'm all in this week at 150 to 1. And again, like the most likable guy, isn't he? He's one of these people that you always want to do well and root for. And I'm pretty confident that he's a Midwest guy.
Yeah, when you think about a guy that becomes number 1 putter on Saturday, that's usually a guy that worries about his putting the first 2 days or plays conservative, and as soon as he makes the cut, he lets it go. He's positioned on our sheet this week right next to a couple of guys worth mentioning. Brent Snedeker's right there. He's a great putter. No form at all. The odds are 209. It's hard for me to believe. Zach Johnson, who really is the hometown hero, 100 to 1. I'm looking at Zach's stats. He's 198th in making birdies. I think now distance could be a problem for him to. Not a super short hitter, but 88th in putting. But he'll be enormous. So when we talk about star players, the 2 star players this week that they have that nobody will talk about ever will be Zach Johnson and Steve Stricker. They will get more applause, more accolades than any of if Brooks Koepka or Bryson DeChambeau were there. I can promise you. Yeah. So very interesting dynamic, very community orientated tournament. Brian Stewart, of course, up there at 200 to 1.
I looked at him.
He pops in at number 2 in driving accuracy. So, you know, it's going to be a great week up there. There's a lot of the tour is splintered with different articles all over the place this week. I still think that John Deere is going to have a great tournament.
Yeah, I looked at Brian Stewart and I typed out a few arguments, but I just couldn't get to my 3 reasons to pick him, so I had to delete him. And like that's fine. I feel good about Chesson Hadley, but I was mad at. Well, no, I'm not mad at myself. It's up to me. But Denny McCarthy's playing this week, and we know how big I've been on him all season. Great putter, great scrambler. So he could be one to watch. I think he was like 22 to 1 or something. Yeah, 22 to 1. So, and Chesson Hadley, by the way, is from North Carolina. So he's not from the Midwest, but like close enough. And
if Davis Riley wins this week, that will just really tank me, right? Because I've had him almost.
He's not playing.
Oh, he withdrew. Okay.
Yeah. So he's obviously been on a good little tear lately. But next week is exciting because we have 2 events. We've got the Barbasol that's taking place, but also the Scottish Open. And it's the first time that the Scottish Open has counted as a PGA Tour event. It's a co-sanction between the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour. So 9 of the world's top 10 are going to be playing there. You know, my brother's going over. I think there's at least 6 Scots in the field right now. And for a lot of guys, it's going to be a nice little warm-up for the Open Championship. Should say as well that this week and next week both count as the Open qualifying. So there's 3 spots available this week at the John Deere Classic to get into the field at St Andrews, which again is a big motivation.
Yeah, and going back to biorhythms, as I said before, who got beaten in the playoff last year in the Barbasol this time last year?
JT Poston.
Bingo, your pick.
That's it. Whoa,
so
good memory.
I'm all about that. biorhythms.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, that was our tour report this week for the John Deere Classic. As I said, you can check out all of our stats, the full sheet, our re-ranking of the field on the SG Tour app. Find that in the App Store. Play along on our games this week as well and pick your 4-ball team. You can go up against Elk and I, and we'll have videos and podcasts, all of our picks up there. And then we are going to jump back on Wednesday. And we will talk about Live Golf because it's the Portland event. A lot of new names added into the mix. Brooks Koepka, Matt Wolff, Bryson DeChambeau, Pat Perez, who's part of the Secret Golf team. And I know, Elk, you've been talking to Pat. So we'll jump back on and we'll do a little feature on Live and what's coming up this week on Wednesday.
I'll be talking to Pat probably this afternoon. I'm going to get a complete laydown of what's going on up there at Live, and we will report all that. I think he's doing his press conference with Brooks Koepka and Patrick Reed today, so that will be an exciting 3-ball, as you would, on its own.
Exactly, and of course, Live Golf is still dominating headlines and golf Twitter every day right now, so we'll dive into that and we'll talk about everything going on. But thank you very much for watching. As I said, next week, huge week, and we're gearing up for the 4th Open of 2022, 4th major of 2022.